The biggest games.
Recchi for three, got it to go!
The most compelling stories.
Three of the former players' sons were on this particular Monroe team.
The area's best high school sports coverage.
Throws it down with two hands, the whole hoop is shaking.
That's a 10. That's a 10, baby.
This is Zimbrick Honda's presentation of Prep Mania on 100.5 ESPN, the ESPN app, and Wisconsin On Demand.
Alex Strofe, that's the Dean Dennis Semrau, and again with us, our good friend, as I call him, the GOAT, a guy you've been with 32 years, the Waunakee football head coach, Pat Rice, is with us. This is an interesting one, Dennis, as Pat Rice going to retire after 32 years at the helm of the Waunakee Warriors.
Well, there's been some rumor for the last, how many, 5-6 years? So you go to state, you win a state championship. You know, Mike Minnick, you saw Mike do that. Go out, Dave Pauls this year, winning a title. But long career, finally, that's it?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is something that you just don't randomly, do. I'm retiring from teaching. I think one of the things to be effective and really effective at the highest level, you've got to be in the school, and you've got to be putting in the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, I think with me getting out of the teaching end of it, I think that the kids deserve a guy that's in there, full-time and ready to go. And I would tell you this, I've said it before, but I am so blessed to have had, number one, the athletes we've had. And there's so many, I don't even want to name, just one or two, because there's been so many. And the coaches, the number of coaches we've had that are tremendous. I'm kind of the front person for it, but we have a lot of guys that are unbelievable coaches and people and leaders, along with our players, and then the fans. So it's not because of anything there. It is an unbelievable community. We have a great administration, and our players and coaches that I've had the privilege of working with are unbelievable and just super human beings. But there comes a time where if you're not going to do it 100%, where you're all in. It's just, and I still will be, somehow involved in football. It's been part of my life, my entire life, with my dad being a head coach, and it's really, I've known no other way than football. But I also know that you want to do it the right way, and you want to do it all in. And I want to make sure that our players understand. No, it's not. We're in great shape. I mean, I really wish I was 27, because I think we'd have a number of more wins and things. We've got a really great program, great assistants that are ready to jump in. But with kind of leaving teaching, I think that really becomes a thing. And the constant 365 days a year, Christmas break, you guys are celebrating with your families. You know what? I'm open in the weight room. Nobody knows that, but I'm open in the weight room. I'm Easter break, Thanksgiving, all of those things. It's then there's the recruiting season, and then there's the off-season meetings with the players, and then your off-season meetings with the coaches. It really is, and it's a labor of love. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. I absolutely had a blast and loved the people more than I can even explain how much I loved all the people associated with it. But there comes a time where you want to make sure it's done the right way, all the way, and not cut corners and not do things like that. And I think the time is right with myself leaving teaching at the end of this year to move into a different direction, and I still will be somehow associated with football, but I think it's the next chapter should start.
Well, I've always believed the best coaches are teachers first. And again, it used to be you were a teacher coach, that was that person in the building. Then for a couple of decades it was people from outside running clubs and youth programs. Now we're starting to see the importance of having that person in the building. So a credit for you for realizing that's the most important thing. But you're only the third coach in Waunakee football history, and each coach has had their legacy. What's your legacy going to be?
Well, I think those first two coaches you mentioned are directly related to ours. We've never run from our tradition. I've always embraced it. I love Coach Trotta, and we've talked that Coach Quinn's one of my mentors and great friend. I've tried to continue that tradition, and I didn't want to screw it up when I first started. And I think we were able to continue the way that Waunakee was. Our legacy, I think, is that everybody will point to a lot of championships we've won and a lot of great things, but I think the legacy is just the journey all of those teams took together. It's just hard to articulate the locker room, the bonding each team had, the leadership, the ups and downs, and we've been through, some tragedies. But I think that's the legacy. And all of it has been a blast. It's been fun. The kids, it's been an upbeat program where football. We joke about not being too cool to care, and football is important to us, and we're all going to go as hard as we can in terms of coaching and playing and practicing and every rep. And, we really preach that, and watching that actually, day to day, happen, it's pretty special. And, I think that's the legacy is it's fun. There was a while there where our numbers were down. Our numbers aren't down. We have, I think, 874 kids playing in our community. We have 180 at the high school. We've tried to do it the right way from the youth all the way up, where the kids have a great experience and they know that football can be a life-changing game. It can be a game that is so hard to even describe all the different things you grow from, being involved in it. So we wanted to make sure we weren't just about wins and losses. And don't get me wrong, we're competitive. We've loved the success that we've been blessed to have, but we also love the relationships. We love the experience. I love seeing that guys are doctors and lawyers and coaches at other places. It's that's kind of the coolest legacy. That's the one that keeps on giving. And don't get me wrong, as I drive by our press box and I look all the championships, I smile. But I smile because I also think of all those young men and coaches that were with us that were part of them. And it's a cool story. You were right. We should have wrote a book, because it would have been a great book to hear about some of these guys.
Well, your legacy also is you have 3 daughters
Yep.
that are teachers and into coaching now.
Yep.
Now, if that's not an inspiration, in the business, we don't make a lot of money.
No.
People say, why do you do it? You do it for the love of the game, for the love of the kids. And you've been able to pass that on to your daughters.
Yeah, they love sports, and they've grown up kind of all 3 of them like the little girl from Remember the Titans. I mean, they're invested. They're all in. I'd probably be remiss not to mention those 3 and my wife.
Dee Dee's that's a saint. I mean,
Yeah.
coaches' wives are saints, right?
Yeah, there's no way we'd have the success we'd have without those guys supporting, and so that they've been patient, and I guess it's cool that they've seen enough value that they want to go into some of that themselves, and they do a great job, and I think they see that it's more than just winning and losing.
When you talk legacy, I mean, you list off all the things you're so proud of. But if you could narrow it down to one, what are you most proud of over the course of these 32 years, Pat?
That's a really tough question. I think I'm proud of the way we've tried to do things. I mean, we've tried to do them the right way, and I think that's bears out by the players coming back, being part of the program. The numbers we have, the youth camps and things that are, we've tried to not, I tell our coaches all the time, if we're going to do it, let's do it the right way, all the way through. Let's treat those kids like they're our own kids. And I think that's we've tried to do it the right way. And the wins are a definite bonus, and I'm proud as heck of each and every team we've had and each and every player. But I just think the way we've tried to accomplish it, and the way we've tried to continue the tradition. And as I've mentioned before, there's football didn't start with Pat Rice and Waunakee. Football started a long time ago, and so we've done it as a group, as a community, and I'm proud to be part of that in some way.
342 bonuses, by the way, Dennis.
Yeah. Well, you had a 48-game winning streak, which at the time was a state record, 3 straight state titles, a home winning streak. But you went from grass, and you look at the stadium over there, turf, the scoreboard, which is most colleges. A lot of these kids go to college, D2 and D3, and go, I got a better stadium in high school than I see here. You got to be proud of the facilities. And I still remember Brian Smith telling me the year that we went from 9 games to 8 because you used to have to play and then have a playoff game like 3 days later.
Right.
And Brian said, Pat is just beside himself. His template is all screwed up because I can call you on a day in March and I know exactly what you're doing or what's going on. And Dennis, I got a meeting Sunday night. Don't bother me Sunday between 7 and 10. I'm meeting my coaches. So, I mean, that all is kind of cool, too. How many players have come back that have been part of your staff? I mean, you've got that whole family thing that it's not just when they're players, but that they're back later.
Right. The template thing is real. I'm very much a creature of habit. You can ask my wife about that in terms of just having things in a certain place, a certain order. But that's kind of part of the deal that I never wanted to shortchange that. So our preparation in terms of the off-season, preseason, in-season, postseason was very detailed. And we really tried to make sure that we didn't get outworked by anybody. The players coming back, that's so special when you have them come back or you have them on your staff, which a number of them have coached for us and worked for us, and it's cool coming off the field and hugging some of the guys you haven't seen in a couple of years where they're completely vested and they know they've built this program. They're part of the whole construction of this program. It's on their backs that we've built the thing together. And so it's really, that's probably as good a feeling as you get is when you see those guys and they're successful and they have families and, like you said earlier, now I'm coaching a couple of their kids, so it's you feel a little bit older, but you're just so proud of that part of it. When you step back and think about that, I think it kind of puts everything in perspective. The wins and losses are really cool. And don't get me wrong, I was that young coach. I know I can remember Pat Rice in 1992 that was hungry for everything.
0-4 start?
Yeah, 0-4 start, hungry for everything. But, as you kind of mature through this thing and you gain a perspective, it really is special, those relationships. Those don't die. And you sit there and you think about certain events, certain games, certain practices, and then seeing the guys now as adults and successful adults. I don't think there's anything you can be more proud of. So it's you don't realize that when you first start out, but the blessings you get from that are incredible. It's been a wild ride. It's been a fun ride, and like I said, we couldn't have done it alone. We needed a bunch of coaches and players to be part of it, and I think we've got that. I probably haven't talked enough about our coaches. The game's become so specialized over the last 10 to 15 years in particular that I'm out in front of everything. And certainly I have the game management and the last call on different things, but there's so many coaches that are unbelievably talented that we have and that I've had a chance to work with, and they're behind the scenes. They're not doing an interview on ESPN like this. They've just been grinding and working and being with the kids, and so I think there is also another kind of undersold thing, the number of people that are bought in that you get to work with, not just the players. We've been really fortunate to have some coaches that are not part-time guys. They are with me through thick and thin, and the deal is they're my best friends. That is the thing that worries me most about this is I have to stay in it because all of my friends, all of my relationships really have been about coaching, and Dee Dee's friend. I mean, that's been our whole life. So that's going to be a challenge. But they've already told me they're not going to kick me out of the fraternity, so I'm still in, which is good.
Well, you're in Wisconsin Football Coaches Hall of Fame. You and your buddy Dave Richardson, I'm sure now he wants to get you on the golf course a little more, but got to talk about your dad, who was my mentor. He was the president of the Coaches Association when he started. Told me the story about you drawing plays when you were like 8 years old. You were on the sideline with him. Did you always want to be a football coach?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't know it at the time, but I did. I'd he'd have tape, and we had the old 16 millimeter, so it was, and he'd be downstairs watching it, and my brothers and myself would be down there, and I was pretty observant in terms of personnel and different things, and it's just we didn't know any different, so it was really I had a pretty good upbringing. I mean, we would see these legendary coaches coming in, John Jardine, all these guys coming to our house, or us being exposed to them. So, we looked at them as rock stars, and obviously my dad, we did as well, more than anybody. But just to be exposed to that, and certainly. The football plays, that's actually very true. I would draw plays up. I don't think he ran them, which I think would have helped. But we and I think my mom has saved some of them and stuff. But it was a big influence for us when we were younger, and it was just how we grew up.
What's next?
Well, Richardson probably wants to kick my butt in golf, but he's my golf coach. So, golf, hunting, a little fishing, just still being involved. I still will be teaching this year through the rest of the year, and I'm, really going to be available, much like Coach Quinn was to me, to help any way I can to make sure that the program stays on good footing. So I know I'm going to be involved still with Waunakee and supporting Waunakee, the football piece of it, and our staff that we've put together and our players. So I'm not going to go away there, and I'm sure I'll still be involved in football. I love it too much. It's still too much a part of me. And it excites me every day. I'm fortunate that way, but I haven't really thought about that. I know my wife's not going to let me sit around and watch TV.
You've got 3 daughters that I'm sure would like to.
I'll be chasing those guys around for sure. They're going to get sick of me. And Dee Dee's already told me I better be doing something, because I'm not just going to sit there. So I'm looking forward to whatever the next chapter is. I know football will be part of it, and I know my family will be part of it, and I know doing some of the things I've kind of wanted to do, and I do it part-time, but not as much. I think all those things will be in the future.
I'm sure you're going to be on the speaking tour a little bit too, the Coaches Association, stuff you maybe didn't want to share as a head coach. Now you can maybe impart a little knowledge.
Yeah, it's been funny. I've been asked a few times here this last couple of weeks, and I did keep it pretty generic through the years. So depending on what direction we go as a program here, I might be able to share a little bit more. But like I said, I've always tried to give back to the other coaches. I've talked to a lot of coaches about program development things, and done a lot of speaking stuff. And I love speaking about football. I love talking about how our process, and maybe it helps a little bit. Everybody's got a little different deal. When you're at Lodi, who we talked about Dave earlier, Paul's, they may have a little different parameters in their school, so you have to be able to be flexible and look at how you do things. But I think there's a lot of ideas that in terms of building a program, and there's a lot of different schemes that you can deal with, offensively, defensively, special teams, but there's some program management things that can be helpful. So I've tried to share that because I like to see football grow in our area. I like to see the success of the game in a lot of communities. And so, it makes me excited to see Dane County numbers going back up. It makes me excited to see a lot of kids playing, because it's the best experience, best team game in the world. And I get excited, being part of that. So, I've never shied away from, when coaches have asked me to come in and try to help, and look at different things. I've tried to do that because people did that for me, and that's been a big part of why we are. I didn't invent the game. I'm not the smartest dude in the world. If people didn't help me, we wouldn't be here. So, I've tried to return that as, pay it back to everybody too. So,
I think you two need to team up on that book. I think now would be a good time. Well, Pat Rice, 32 years in the books at Waunakee. We appreciate you hanging out, and congratulations on everything.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all the coverage you guys have done with high school sports.
Our pleasure.
As we talked about, it's kind of it's pretty special. You guys don't know when you're doing the games, and people are taping them and doing everything else. It means a lot to the families. It means a lot to the communities. You guys do an awesome job, so keep it up.
Appreciate you saying that. The great Pat Rice, 32 years, an absolute legend, WFCA Hall of Famer.